Hey there, folks. Gip Erskine here, values-driven coaching, and ready to jump into escaping the low bid trap. This is my favorite masterclass of all time because it allows you to possess the keys that can permit your beautiful and elegant escape from the low bid trap without really sacrificing anything. And especially you don't have to sacrifice your profit margins. So this is all about how to win the right business without cutting your price. And how do you do it? Well, the answers lie within. This is all about really being confident in your quality. And if you are a commercial property service company, one who conducts business with commercial property managers in high-rise office buildings, low-rise office buildings, any other office buildings, mixed-use retail, really doesn't matter if you are the one who is showing up every single day, if you're the one who is being responsible for carrying out a certain scope of work, but a program that can be valued by any of the stakeholders of the property, and that would be property owners, tenants, employees of the tenants, their guests, prospects, leasing agents, those who have a vested interest in the outcome of the condition of the property, and you are a steward of that, then this is the right place. So welcome. I'm excited to have you here. And if you're watching this on the recording, not bad. I appreciate your attention. So how do we do it? How do we win the right business without cutting your price? I mean, this has been one of those things that has been gnawing at the commercial property service world for decades. And I want to show you all the keys here. So why are you here? First of all, if you're not winning as often as you should, and you are losing to the cheaper bid, and your differentiators are just being minimized, we're all told to differentiate, right? But then nobody knows none of your buyers actually know how to factor that into their decision-making calculus. We're going to solve all that today. Your profit margins are getting squeezed, and you're open to learning how to accelerate your growth. So the commodity trap is really technically built by property managers. They didn't mean to do it, but if you're a price-based bidder, just look at the distinction between these two. If you are in the trap, you're a price-only, lowest price, cheapest price bidder. And there's a race to the bottom where the winner becomes the biggest loser. You don't win the business. You actually have lost your margin, your bandwidth, your ability to be proactive and produce a quality outcome. Margins shrink, bandwidth disappears, values ignored, and you are in reaction mode. You're on your heels. You can only perform the bare minimum because you're spread too thin, and you stay stuck in that replaceable vendor status. Look on the flip side. Over here on the bright green shiny side is values-driven authority, someone who stands in their own authority, in their own credibility. You're the subject matter expert, so you're the one who can actually not just defend, but support the property clients, the property management clients that you serve with all of your best stuff. You know, your platform, your differentiators, your years of experience, all of that stuff kind of comes to the foreground. You position yourself as the authority because you are, and you move the conversation beyond the scope and price. Price has its place, but not front and center, and it can't be the only determinant of value, into the results that actually exceed expectations. So you start anticipating needs. You are proactive. You enhance asset value. You're not just a line item on their P&L. And then you become an invaluable service partner to them. How do you transcend? Another way to look at it is going from lowly bidder to an authority. It's another way of looking at this whole thing. A bidder provides prices and are replaceable. They're the cogs on the wheel. They're the commodities. Nobody wants to be commoditized. Let's move over to the authority where you provide proof and results and alignment with their expectations and the stakeholders' expectations as well. They're experts to be trusted as indispensable allies. That's just another way to look at it. So today, we're going to make a declaration. Today, we stop competing on price. I know it's hard. We're going to stop competing on price and price alone. and then we start winning on value. That's really your declaration. If you can get your head around that, then you're ready, you're poised. Let's keep on going. Who am I? Well, I'm providing the view from the other side here. I've sat in your client's chair for over 40 years. I've been in commercial property management for that long. I've managed over $5 billion in commercial assets. I'm a CPM, I'm a CCIM, I'm a certified BOMA and BOMI instructor, and I've evaluated hundreds of bids. And not only hundreds of bids, but I totaled it all up, and it adds up to be about $100 million worth of service agreements that I've awarded to people like security and landscaping, janitorial and elevator and HVAC and roofing and interior plants and water treatment and window washing. I mean, the list just keeps on going. And that's the world of the property manager. We see all these particular bids, but we end up just kind of shortchanging the entire thing and making a price-based decision only. Let's get out of that. But in order to get out of the trap, you got to understand the anatomy of the trap. So let's talk about the anatomy. So in the name of cost savings, it's one thing to be sourcing widgets. It's one thing to actually have a spec and say, if everybody follows the same spec and use the same materials and you have the same deliverables and so forth, then low bid should win. You know, a Sony TV, 65-inch TV over here should be the same Sony 65-inch TV over there. So long as all the specs are the same, I'll just pick the lowest price. But in services, it gets corrupted. In services, you know, the same framework creates a different outcome. You know, why? Because we're all human. We all have a different approach. We have a different perspective. We have different perceptions. And our platforms are different. Everybody's got a different pedigree. They've got a different amount of certifications, different amount of experience, different amount of client references. So the assumption is that all things are equal if I just tighten up the scope, right? Wrong. The reality is all things are never equal in the service world. So once you get that, then it's kind of like, oh, okay, I've been complicit. I've been playing this game all along with all the other cogs in the wheel. That's why you remain a cog if you don't recognize the difference between being a bidder and being a valued authority. So the result of all of this is that we have an industry that's been trained to quantify cost and yet far less disciplined on quantifying value. So you could say that they're ignorant on value, if that makes sense. So the assumption is the lower the operating expenses, OPEX, the higher the NOI. While that's true, the reality is that the lower cost in one line item ends up showing up downstream. So the top line revenue also gets unnoticed. So if you just stay in this expense world and property managers live in the OPEX world, they collect rent, but they don't really know that they can influence it. So they focus on what they can trim. How can they keep operating expenses manageable and low? And so that's why you keep on bidding and forcing the lowest price to emerge. And then they have to be okay with the resulting service that comes with that low price. That game changes and it stops today. So when you cut price, you cut proactivity. You're a firefighter when you're in the low bid world, and you're a partner when you're in the value world. So firefighters react to complaints. They just can do the bare minimum. But the partner can anticipate needs and enhance asset value. And isn't that what the owner wants? Isn't that what the owner pays for? The owner pays the property manager to not just to protect their asset, not just to mitigate risk, but to enhance value. And how can you do that unless you're looking at the top line? So we're going to share our way on how to do that. So there was definitely a need for something better, and something that I created years ago when I was in property management to defend and support that entire decision on, I don't want to get stuck awarding to the cheapest party in the spreadsheet. I don't want to get stuck there. My reputation's at stake, so I created something different. But first, let's just call it all out. The basic spreadsheet is a liar. It only measures what is easy, not what's important. So if you take a look at this particular spreadsheet here, it begins where you have the scope on the left, and all of the providers are on the right, and you see ABC and DEF and GHI. They're all kind of stacked up in there, but this obviously bases the entire award on price and price alone, and it ignores any operational risk and any value enhancement. So if you look at the heat map there, the green is low, red is high. The party in the third column actually wins this deal. But it's a liar because it only shows one dimension, and that's where I'm going to shatter this whole thing. Here's another thing that kind of like supports how property managers can rely on price and price alone, because that recommendations must be defended. And that there's asset managers, there's ownership groups who really scrutinize all of the expenses that go into the decision, into the P&L. I once met an asset manager, he had 120 some odd properties. I'm like, whoa, how do you keep up with all of that? You can't keep up with anything other than a number. So these guys scrutinize the numbers. So if a property manager chooses the higher price, they have to defend it upstream to the asset manager, to the owner. And it's your job to equip them with a business case that they can present to ownership and substantiate, here's why it's better. And I'm going to show you this framework. So value's never been measured or authorized to the property manager. You can't just pick somebody because they're higher. So just because you think they're more valuable, just because you like them, just because you've done business with them, you've got to pick the lowest one. So they've been unauthorized to just rely on value. The higher quality is rarely accepted by ownership groups, and especially if they're short-term holders. If they're buy and hold, then this argument wins every single time. So it is difficult for them to defend, and they don't want to argue with the owner. That's who cuts their paycheck. So another way of looking at it, price is the easiest number to defend. It requires zero explanation. It's the lowest bid. There it is. Value is a little bit harder, hard to explain without a framework because they seem better. The chemistry, I just really like them. All these kinds of things, really, really tough. So price is easier to defend because it is already quantified. Value becomes defensible when we quantify it. And when we quantify what, it changes. So we're going to talk about that. So it's not that property managers don't care about value. They don't want to award their business to cheap because that's their reputation. And that's the downstream problems that result from awarding to the cheapest. The tenants are going to complain to them, and then now they have to do something with it. So our job is to make value more visible and measurable and easier to explain. Here's how. If you can't measure value, price will always win. That's why. So I created this framework called the leveler, and it is an avenue to make your value visible. And what do I mean by that? Think of the iceberg. Only the top part is visible, but the mass, the huge portion of everything that goes behind your platform, your pedigree, your experience, your dots on the map, whatever you're proud of, your differentiators, is all hidden. It's all beneath the surface. So your differentiators, your ROI, operational savings, safety metrics, tenant satisfaction, property enhancement, property management, bandwidth return, because you took their problems off them. All that stuff is missing if you just myopically look at price. So we're not going to look at price. We're not going to let them just look at price. We're going to talk about what it takes to change the conversation away from price. The opportunities in the invisible. When you make value visible, the right client has a defensible reason to choose you. And your job is to make value visible, make more sales. There we go. So beyond the numbers. So I kind of showed you in a little bit of an earlier preview of this. This is a little bit of expanded version. This happens to be in janitorial, but it could be in any other service trade that you've got, where if green is low, red is high, the incumbent is the lowest, so the incumbent wins in this particular 6 bidding scenario. And that's usually as far as property managers take it. But if you look beyond the numbers, and if you look really what's hidden behind that lowest price, it usually means hidden risk. Those are the ones that, that's head in the sand for property managers. They don't want to know, like, oh, I hope you guys are doing the right thing. You say you're trained. I really, really hope that you are. So they cross their fingers and they have to move on to something else. There's a dozen or more of us per property for a property manager. Especially you get the big ones, they've got dozens of service providers who are there working on their behalf, changing out the air fresheners in the restrooms, doing the various different mundane things that make the property 72 and sunny. So let's look beyond the numbers here. Let's look into some value metrics. So there are values-driven variables. As if you want to increase sales, you can either increase the number of clients that you have, or the price per service, or the number of services that you have. That's the traditional way of growing sales. But I'm challenging that by saying if you can add the number of value metrics to that particular equation, you've just given yourself a differentiator that nobody else has. And that means you reveal your readiness, and you help boost your credibility with these metrics. And it shows your competence, and it gives them confidence in your competence. You highlight your differentiation, and you manage expectations. And there again, here it shows up again, returning PM bandwidth. You give them back the stuff that they would otherwise be drowning in, the details, the minutia, the damage control, and all the stuff that happens when service providers can't perform. So let's take a look at the defensibility test. What would it take for your client to defend your higher number upstream? So question number one, what meaningful outcome improves? Is it time? Is it risk? Is it quality, readiness, etc.? Number two, what evidence supports that claim? Is there a trend? Is there a number, comparison, observation, client-specific examples? And number three, what risk or cost did the choice reduce or avoid? Be thinking about follow-up and uncertainty and number of complaints and transition risk and preventable losses. Those are the things that really, really matter. And just think of that, the outcome plus the evidence plus risk reduction gives you a more defensible price. And isn't that where you want to be? So pick one thing that makes you different. Well, we do X, which creates or enhances Y, or reduces or prevents Y. And then we could demonstrate it through Z, and this matters because of ABC. So if you can kind of equip your property manager with these things that nobody else can articulate, it's the elevator speech. If they can recant this, like, oh, okay, we do this, which helps me do this, this, and this, and avoids this, and we have evidence of it here, and it matters because it saves me time, money, or my career. Okay, that's easy enough. I can do that. I did it in about 10 seconds. Do that in under 60, and then you've got to pitch for them. They're pitching for you when you're not even in the room. All right, let's take a look at some of the examples of value metrics. Number of years of experience. Stands, that's easy. What year were you established? Minus this year, you get the number of years of experience. Number of accounts per manager. That one comes up a lot more often than you might think. How thin are you spread? Do you have 50 accounts? Do you have 150 accounts? Do you have 20 accounts? Between 20 and 150, I like 20. What's the number of accounts in your submarket? Do you have proximate resources to what matters to me as a property manager? What's your client retention rate? And not yesterday, not over the past week, or the past trailing 12 months. What's your employee turnover rate over the past 12 months? Number of days without incident, your OSHA 300. What's your experience modification rate? For those of you who don't know what an EMR is, or an XMOD, as my friend just indicated to me, it is the standard by which your CGL premiums are governed. So for elevator industry, for any industry, an EMR average is 1. If you're a 1.2, you're riskier. If you're a 0.8, you're safer. And then your premiums get adjusted based upon that. That tells me about safety. That tells me about risk. And if you can advertise that you're a 0.72, and you were a 0.72 last year, and now you're a 0.68, that means you're becoming a safer and safer bet for me. And that matters as a property manager. Number of similar properties, number of proximate properties, hours available. You can get the idea here. You can go nuts on this, but you're really You need to determine what matters most to your property management clients. So we showed you the top part of the bid evaluation, and that's where in row, I guess it looks like row D, the big fat red arrow points to the lowest cost, the lowest price on the page there. And this is making your quality defensible. When you subject all of these companies to all of these different rigors in here, from your experience, from your presence, from your bandwidth, your risk, your safety, all these different things get factored in. And now look where the cream rises. It is column G, which is the fourth column over. That's now the new most cost effective, the best outcome once you measure the totality of value. And that's what makes this whole thing work. It's amazing, very, very special. This is the framework that's going to get you paid more, and it's going to get you valued higher. And when you do this, then the guys who are cheaper, they can't stack up on these other qualifications. They end up falling out of the running. So it's a magical math that goes to work for you. CRE leaders love this. They love the leveler. They love the framework. They love the fact that it takes price and puts it in its place, and then subjects those company platforms to all the other rigors that matter. The metrics that matter are actually being reported. And now, instead of property managers asking for, like, how many years of experience do you have? And you tell them, not in the number of years that each person has, but the years in business that your company's been, and any other metrics that matter to them. Now they know what to do with it. They can just drop them right in, and you get an outcome. You get an actual rating from that, and that affects how it computes your final score. So there's lots of people who just kind of say, it ensures that the correct vendors are selected. I'm not aware of a model like this. It provides real substance. It gives you a deeper, more thoughtful approach to bid evaluation. I would definitely encourage managers and facility and property managers to use a framework like the leveler. So, okay, it gets some street cred from those in authority who actually would embrace this type of thinking. So it's not like a standalone one and done. It is a useful tool that somebody had indicated, like, where's this been all my life? And so let's talk about some metrics that matter to owners. NOI, they're obsessed with NOI, net operating income. So revenue minus expenses gives you NOI. And then it goes like mortgage and all that kind of stuff, and cash flow comes out below that. But NOI is where the property gets based on. And if you've ever heard of something called the cap rate, and a typical cap rate could be like 10%. And that is NOI divided by cap rate gives you value. And so what's the value of the property? Well, they look at NOI for the value, and they subject it to the cap rate to determine what that value is. Appreciation. Can my value be enhanced by doing anything, and not just manipulating NOI, but actually doing things that can actually cause greater leasing volume and momentum and things like that? How about retention? Who do I get to keep? And do I want to keep them and expand them? Yes. The answer is yes. Yes, yes, yes. Owners want to keep their tenants unless it's a problem tenant. And those are the ones that really, really matter to them. So what are the metrics that matter to property managers? Responsiveness. I got the 3 R's here. Responsiveness, their own reputation, and risk and reliability. I've got, 4 R's. But if you can drop everything and show me that you're going to be responsive and you get the bandwidth to drop everything and get your butt over here, then that matters to me, and I'll pay for that. Reputation. They don't want any dings to their reputation. They need to use whatever the business that they've awarded, the experience that their tenants have or their customers have, that enables them to get good scores via the Kingsley Index and things like that. That has just enhanced their mobility in the industry. And then reducing risk and reliability. How can you be seen as the safe and reliable service provider when you're performing your scope? So that's what matters to those guys. So This is all talked through in the 7-Up method that I created to account for all these things. And so let's talk about these things. We have size up. So if you're in BDM and sales, you are looking at the market and looking at the various different opportunities and keeping yourself from the shiny object syndrome that says, "Ooh, I got an RFP, I must respond to it." No, not necessarily. Is it good business? And so we're going to talk about some of the things that make a good business. So when I say winning the right business, it starts with size up to define what's right for you. Then show up. How do you become top of mind in the market? So it's a visibility system. Speak up. How do you articulate the language that matters to your clients and talk in their nomenclature, in their vocabulary? Sell up. How do you then transfer the myopic focus on price over to value and start to introduce those metrics that matter? How do you serve up? We're going to talk about once you shake hands, now you're serving. How do you keep the commitments that you just made during the sales process? Strengthen up. This is your retention engine. How do you keep the clients that you want and prove to them that you're the one that they couldn't do without? And then scale up from a business standpoint. How do you grow concentrically, geographically, exponentially, however you want to do, based upon your reputation in the market? So it's going to talk about each one of these individually. Size up. Size up is component number one, and that's qualifying for ROI, not just the RFP. It keeps you from bidding randomly and haphazardly. Anybody can justify about any new business opportunity. As I said, the shiny object syndrome of a new RFP that lands on your desk. Hey, we got a live one. Just because it's an opportunity doesn't mean it's the right opportunity for you. I'm going to talk about what that actually means. If the opportunity doesn't allow for value, then walk away. What do we declare up front? That from here on out, we're not going to talk about price only. We're going to talk about value. And so curb your hunger for any and every opportunity. Just realize that not all business is good business. And it starts at the qualification stage. You need a filter that allows you to see the right client, and that's the right person that is making the decision, the property manager or their team, or the right property management company that is the client too. Do they have a good reputation in the market? Is this somebody you really want to grow with? How about the right property? Is it the right geographic fit? Is it the right property type? Is it the right property size? All that stuff matters, because you start chasing anything that lands on your plate, it could be a sour deal. How about the right opportunities? Is it a pricing gut check in the market, or are you actually vested in the value conversation? And is it the right price? Does it allow for the right pricing based upon the totality of your value? So there's a lot of qualifiers there, and I just want to ask you, if you were to rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 5, where would you fit in that scenario? And keep a tally of this, because we're going to add them all up at the end and kind of see where that lands for you. So how well do you qualify opportunities, test for fit, geographic sweet spot, value orientation, before you invest time in the pursuit? Give yourself a score of 1 to 5. All right, number 2, show up. This is the marketing side. If you're out of sight, you're out of mind. And if clients only see you when things are wrong, that's bad. If clients only see you when they contact you first, that's bad. If they see you when renewal time comes, that's bad. So in the marketing side of things, you need intentional consistency that's aligned with their expectations. And there's seasonality involved. There's all kinds of things that you can kind of keep the cadence with them and make certain that you stay relevant in their mind and top of their mind. Remaining top of mind can only happen if your value is visible, when your value is visible. So visibility is a system, it's not an event. Remaining top of mind is the goal. And so do you just blend in like everybody else because you're in the category of landscaping and you just want to be like everybody else? You can see all those RFPs, or do you really want to stand out and differentiate with an edge that nobody else has? And some people have said, yeah, we do try to differentiate, but then it doesn't get factored into the calculus. That's what this solves. So decide exactly how you want to show up in your marketing. And I suggest maybe a 12 touch point system that can stay in front, whether it be social, whether it be email, whether it be association, whether it be meetings, whether it be lunches, whether it be client appreciation, whether it be any of those things that can stay present and relevant. And then you're top of mind. Have you seen what we've done for Betty over there? Maybe we can do the same, success for you over here. Constantly bring them things, not basically vomiting your brochure on them every 2 seconds, but how do you get a cadence of relevance that lets them know that you know what you're doing and you should be included in the next time they go out to bid. So here's another self-assessment. So this is for number 2 here. Show up. How would you rate your structured visibility system? Do you have a visibility system, and is it structured? And is it one that creates value between bid cycles and keeps you top of mind in the industry? Give yourself a score there between 1 and 5, and we'll move on. This is pillar number 3, speak up. Recognize your prospect and clients' highest values. So I'm all about values-driven coaching. It starts with my own highest values. It starts with identifying your highest values. When I know my highest values and well enough, and they're researching, teaching, and loving, then I can recognize them in others. And it's really uncanny when you start to talk in their highest values, then all of a sudden the small talk goes away. Become conversant and fluent in your client's language. Pick up their nomenclature. What are they talking about? Introduce the metrics that matter to them. What are their denominators? If you're in security, you're an hours guy. You're like 168 account. That means nothing to property managers. It might mean something to some, but don't do the math and don't have them do the math for you. Do the math for them. They are a cost per square foot kind of people. So talk in their denominators and uncover the hidden why beneath the surface. So there's some questions to consider, such as like, what's the one thing that you expect from your service partners that's not in the RFP? It's not in there. Don't look for it. You can't even read between the lines. What would you expect that may not be articulated in there? What's one thing that your service partner should never do? How about that? What's strictly taboo? What's the single most important hot button issue we can work on to eliminate? And how does managing services take more time than it should? How does it? In your world, how does managing all these things, you're the maestro, Mr. Property Manager, Mrs. Property Manager, how does it take more time than it actually should? Where does that show up? And elicit answers, demonstrate confidentiality, and build trust. Now, you may find that you get into like a career conversation with them. That's okay, because they look to you because they don't have a good read on the market, but you do. You're out there, so you can help them with their career. So talk about speak up. Let's give this a rating too. How fluent would you say that you are in your client's language? And how skillfully do you elicit the best ways to stay in lockstep with your client's highest values and changing expectations? Now, if this is the first time that you're hearing about values and highest values and the hierarchy of how values drive all human behavior, then I wouldn't expect a high score here, but be honest and give yourself a score of 1 to 5 and we'll move on. All right, pillar number 4, sell up. This is the meat of it. This is eliciting what matters most to your clients. Ask the what if questions, pose in a perfect world scenarios, and then reintroduce the metrics that matter that we just talked about. Gauge their desire for these metrics and shape how decisions are being made. So your ideal is to take this conversation from we only have a budget of this to, but I want an expectation of this, and say, okay, if we delivered this, how much room do we have that we can actually create that value for you? If we were to show you all the value that we bring here, how important would that be? Would you be open to a value conversation? So you challenge the reliance on the traditional low bid process. And then you become the architect of the bid comparison. And instead of just looking at price and price alone, that should matter, but it can't be the single determinant of value, as I mentioned before. If you don't define the rules of the game, the lowest price will. And so just know that. If you leave it to them, they're just going to go straight to the back of the pricing thing and say, sorry, you weren't cheap enough. So use the leveler framework. Think in those logical ways of accounting for all these things. If you've got a low EMR, can you just crank that out? If you got a great client retention rate, can you crank that out and say, please compare this to my industry peers, and then make a valid decision? So how artfully would you say that you proactively challenge the low bid methodology? Do you push back at all? And then divert attention toward values-driven metrics. And again, if this is your first time hearing about values-driven metrics, highest values, and the low bid trap that you've been stuck in unwittingly, then you may not have a high score in this. But making commitments align with their expectations. Give yourself a score of 1 to 5 in this, and then we're going to move on to number 5, serve up. All right, become an extension of the management team. Now, you've shaken hands, you've made commitments, now you become that logical extension of the management team. You know that the property manager is stuck behind their desk. You know that they can't get out to the nooks and crannies like you do every single time you show up to perform your service. You're the one on the front lines. You're the one who can see property conditions. You're the one who can put on your prospect and your owner's hat and your leasing agent's hat and your engineer's hat and take a look at things critically from a stewardship. You can redefine what a true service partnership looks like when you exhibit ways to serve beyond the scope. Just kind of kick the tires as you would as a prospect might. And notice what's kind of out of whack. It may not be in your scope, but just take a look at it. Kick the tires, look at the amenities, look at what this building is offering. What would be the first impressions from the curb appeal, the very, very drive up? And then just know that if you see something, solve something. If you see something like a tipped over trash can, pick it up. If you see a leaky sprinkler head, report it. If you see anything that could adversely impact either a lease or a tenant's enjoyment of the space or adverse experience for any of the employees of those tenants, their inability to attract talent, that's huge. Your job is to report that and then give them back the much needed bandwidth that they are starving for. They cannot get out because their teams are shrinking and they're relying upon their service partners to deliver the good news and the bad news and all the other news that allow them to make decisions to address those concerns. Train your teams on leasing readiness protocols. We're doing that here. And it's fantastic when property managers can learn about, like, wait a second, my service provider knows that there's a protocol when there's a leasing tour that goes on. That's fantastic. How do you do it? Let's just remind ourselves who vendors are and who partners are. So vendors are replaced, partners are retained. Vendors see the scope as the entire relationship. If I do my job, I get to keep it, right? Now, vendors address only what's been requested. So they're reactive. Vendors raise issues after they become problems. Partners, on the other hand, they honor the scope and then notice what matters beyond it. They communicate issues before they become issues. They recommend solutions and obtain alignment before acting. They make it about their clients and ensure that clients get the credit. So just know that serving beyond the scope means your awareness extends beyond the scope. It does. You have to be a good steward, and you have to know that you've got their back. So how would you rate yourself in this serve up category? How well do you integrate your sales commitments, including your client, your owner, tenant expectations, into your service platform, become an extension of that management team, and then position yourself as a true, trusted service partner? Give yourself a score of 1 to 5, and we'll keep on going. All right, number 6. Strengthen up. This is your retention engine. Demonstrate your value and then share your metrics. So retention starts on day 1. Just because you're serving and you're providing the performance that you had pledged to do, now's your chance to kind of earn your place, deepen the relationship, strengthen the bond. That's why Strengthen Up is so critical. To retain a client is far better than to find a new one. You've heard this when it comes to like finding a new employee, and replacing a new client is the same thing. So making and keeping commitments that build trust, and you keep on making deposits of trust every single day. You reinforce the metrics that matter. Do they still matter to you, or do we need to introduce and focus on new metrics? Demonstrate case studies of other client successes that you've had. And if you didn't report it, it didn't happen. Just that simple. If you don't share it, it's as though it never happened. If you don't share hey, while we were there, we just kind of took care of this. If you don't share, it's kind of like, huh, that's nice. I guess I didn't have an issue after all. Show your work. They say it in school. It's just as important in business. Property managers can't defend your story, but they can defend your metrics. Like we showed this up, we showed up and found this issue at 11:59. At 12:01, we deployed this particular thing. We contacted these people. We had so much area to address. We cleaned it up. We did it by 3 a.m. and we reported the whole thing, and here it is. And we also kind of made certain that it was looking good before 7 a.m. the next morning. We just handled everything for you while you were sleeping. That's what property managers would love to support and defend. Formalize your reporting, make communication strong and reusable. When that's been done for me, copy, paste, send right over to the owner and say, here's why we're keeping these people. Here's why I made the decision to hire them. And here's why we're not going out to bid anytime soon. All right, so as far as your retention efforts, how frequent are your visits and how detailed are your updates highlighting your service delivery metrics and your value enhancement efforts? Do you have a QBR? Do you have any kind of a formalized process in there? Do you have any kind of a scoring that elicits feedback from your clients before they actually have to pick up the phone and give you the bad news? So score yourself on 1 to 5, and we'll move on to our last pillar, the key pillar, and that is scale up. This is what everybody wants to know, is how do they grow their business, not just retain clients, not just sell clients, not just the mechanics of it, but how do you grow your business based upon your own reputation? So now, and again, this only works for high quality companies, but if you have built a reputation that is stellar, now you know that you can actually deliver to who you want to grow with. And so client assessments against internal metrics provide a profitability scorecard. This is your evaluation of your clients, not your client's evaluation of you. You flipped the script. You're now looking to see whether or not they're as profitable for you as you had anticipated they were from the onset. Did you accept the business while you were stuck in the low bid trap? Or is this one who's already valued you and awarded business based upon your totality of value? Those are two different profit margins. And you need to look at some of the ones that have the lesser than desirable profit margins and consider whether or not you want to continue doing business with them and broadening your service platform with them. Expanding your relevance through industry speaking opportunities. Wow, you're the subject matter expert. Did you know that? You can step into your reality here, step into your authenticity, and actually come out with it and say, you know what we found is X, Y, and Z, and here's what we like to concentrate on. Your clients would love the fact that you're there on stage, you're there like with a microphone, you're there on the soapbox, you're there actually educating others as to what they should be looking for in their service providers. So be that authority. Submit value pieces, some articles into your industry, into industry publications. Acknowledge your clients' changing demands and expectations. Stay in calibration with them, and they'll love you for it. Your reputation is your highest margin asset. I worked for the Staubach company, and I once told Roger Staubach, he had about 25 offices in the U.S. and Canada, and I said, "Boy, what an empire you've built." And he's like, "I've got nothing without my reputation. All of that goes away unless I have my reputation." That really stunned me, but it also humbled me and allowed me to actually see him for who he was as a person, but also what he was there to protect, his reputation. And so now you can start to win by referrals and not by random RFPs. Forget the shiny objects. Do it by choice. But now you're at a place where you've got enough social proof and business cases and people who have given you the attaboys and the banner waivers that are there, that they wouldn't go anywhere without you. And those are the best testimonials, and you have them in spades. And now you can grow by design and not by necessity. So gain referrals from clients who love you and who you love, and then refer back to your grand vision. Is this a concentric circle of growth geographically? As I said, functionally, you're expanding your service lines, or you're just happy where you are and you just want to expand the number of clients that you have. Maybe it's time to go back to your grand vision. Why'd you get in the business in the first place? Or if you're a BDM, what is your grand vision of being like that ultimate sales authority? And what is your grand vision? Getting you to enable you to like expand your own business, your own empire. I mean, you create your own food. I mean, if you hunt it, you kill it, you hunt it, you cook it, kind of thing. What is your grand vision? What does that look like? Not just 5, 10 years from now. What is your grand vision that enables you to come out with exactly what it takes for you to step into any room, a boardroom, CEO, no matter whose office it is, and say, here's exactly why our value far exceeds anybody else that you'll find for these particular reasons. And here's why they matter to you. And so let's start thinking in those terms, and let's start collaborating on a business concept that can move your property value way more enhanced than it ever could before I even got in this room. Be with that authority. Position yourself in the next concentric circle of business expansion. And let's just talk about that assessment right now. How is your growth strategy aligned with your clients' highest values? Remember, their highest values really matter, because without you're acknowledging them, you'll never know their behavioral motivations. Their changing expectations, seasonality, market fluctuations, and so forth, and your grand vision. How does your growth strategy align with those things? Give yourself a score of 1 to 5, and we got to tally them all up right now. So take all 7 scores, add them up, and then divide by 35, and then that will give you your value visibility score. And it'll also show you the gap. There's a gap in mastery that we will look for. So your mastery gap is going to be comprised of these various different tranches. So if you're 29 to 35, you're invaluable. You are a strong value authority. You stand in confidence in your space. You are the SME, the subject matter expert that everybody turns to. And if you're between 22 and 28, you're differentiating. You are leading, and you're still poised for growth. You can still kind of get that next level of growth and become that strong value authority. If you're 15 to 21, you're developing. You've got a lot of the right pieces, but they could be disparate, and you don't really know what's going to be deserving of your focus and attention to really be poised for the next layer of sales success. If you're 7 to 14, you're a little bit trapped. You're considered emerging. You're trapped by ignorance or choice. You either don't know it, you can't see it, but I'm here to tell you that there is a way out if you're a quality firm, if you stick to your ethics and your morals and your judgment that says we refuse to compete on price. So let's look at what the transformation results in. The benefits of escaping the low bid trap: they're higher profit margins, better clients, more bandwidth, happier teams, better outcomes, more referrals, stronger growth, healthier partnerships. Come on, the list goes on and on and on. There is no reason to stay trapped now that you have the key to escape the trap. There's no reason to stay stuck on price and sharpening your pencil and squeezing your bandwidth if you don't have to. So become that indispensable service partner. Become invaluable. You no longer sell a service. You serve up measurable outcomes. You no longer sell a service. You build invaluable reputation. You become one service partner that your clients prefer to retain. They can't do without you. And then you reposition how you earn for the rest of your career. How about that? Wouldn't that be better than the frustration of sharpening your pencil and hoping you're low enough to actually win the business? And we know that isn't really winning. Make growth inevitable. When you make value visible and then align with your clients' priorities and expectations, and then quantify what others may leave vague or leave out, then you attract the right clients and then retain them for longer, and then earn and grow with intention. You're no longer chasing growth. Growth is chasing you. Little clever, but you get what I'm talking about. So let's talk about values-driven sales mastery. This is a 12-week cohort that I've designed to enable you to close the mastery gap and then to close more deals as a result of it. Program's not for everyone. It's not for those who want to stay stuck inside that low bid trap. If you're unaware, kind of ignorant, or just really head in the sand about it. It's not for the market share mongers, those who will kind of compete on any basis and think that if they win, you lose. It's not for the low bidders who chase anything with a pulse. It's not for people who are looking for shortcuts. What it is for founders who refuse to compromise on quality. Sales execs who want a duplicatable path that they can teach their teams for years to come. Leaders who want to be known as more than just a vendor. And then BDMs who want to change the conversation forever. Why be a price person when you can be a value authority? Isn't that better? Mastery is worth the endeavor. It is a worthy endeavor, and it is something ready to be achieved. So values-driven sales mastery is made up of, it's a 12-week implementation intensive. And it starts on September 9. It runs through December 2nd, and we take a break for Thanksgiving. So don't worry, I'm kind of sensitive to those times off too. It's group coaching with live hot seats, and it's all recorded so that you can revisit those things if you can't make them. It's 12 Wednesdays of wisdom. So we get you every Wednesday afternoon, and we have you join our community, which is all the like-minded people who are sharing the same nuggets, the same pearls of information, pearls of wisdom. You ask and answer, get your questions answered real time, sometimes mostly by me, but others in the community who like to contribute. And then you earn your badges and credentials the more you participate in that. You get access to my online course, Cleanup 2.0, the Sales Accelerator. And then you have a defined path to becoming a certified value authority, should you want it. It's optional, but there's a designation at the end of this that should you do these right rigors, then you'll be able to earn that particular credential. It's done with you, it's not done for you. I'm alongside you on a weekly basis. And then you get your ready-made solution to close that mastery gap as I promised you. The investment options here are, right now we're in the middle of early bird pricing. It expires on August 31st. So time is ticking away there. You can save $1,000 if you join now. There's a group discount for any other teammates within your company who want to join. They too can save $1,000 and join at $1,900 each after the first one. There's also a payment plan. There's a 2-payment plan option there, both for early bird and then those who opt in to pay after August 31st. So I think one of the last questions you need to ask yourself is 2 questions. Who do you want to be known as? And then what do you want to be known for? So who do you want to be known as? Do you want to be known as a confident value authority, an invaluable service partner, a proactive problem solver, a property service strategist? Those are admirable. Those are worthy of consideration. You're not a BDM. You're not a sales manager. You are a invaluable service partner. You are a confident value authority. That really has some credibility. And as an authority, you can step into that authenticity, step into your confidence, step into the fact that you're the subject matter expert, and live and lead by value and not by price. What do you want to be known for? You want to be aligned with your client's highest values? Absolutely. You got to know how they tick. You want to be known for being a thought-provoking, asking thought-provoking questions and having uncompromising ethics. Be known for your impeccable quality, fearless character, and to be known to lead by example. Those are all worthy. So mastery is a worthy endeavor, and you get to claim all of these as you go through this 12 weeks with me. Mastery is the worthy endeavor. The low bid path is crowded. The value path is virtually empty. So click the QR code here and join the Values-Driven Sales Mastery now, and take advantage before early bird pricing expires on August 31st. And with that, I ask you for the invitation for you to accept so that we can escape this low bid trap together. So Gip Erskine, values-driven coaching, and I so appreciate the value of your time. Now, if this resonates with you, however, you got a few more questions, please just DM me and ping me and let me know that we can jump on a strategy call anytime. I'll send you the link and we can book that right away. So I thank you again for the value of your time, and I look forward to seeing you in Values-driven sales mastery soon starts September 9th. Thank you, and I'll see you soon.